Good morning. I come to you this morning with a very difficult case that we've had to investigate, one that we have spent countless hours praying over, seeking counsel for, and it's just a tough thing to deal with. But I don't normally go over all the facts and the details of the case like I'm going to do this one, but it's very important that the public understand why we came to our conclusion. So, on August the 5th, Travis Draper was shot and killed during a road rage incident. Mr. Draper left his house that morning at approximately 6 o'clock to go to work by way of Highway 295. At approximately 6:17, Mr. Draper stopped at the intersection of 295 and 56 for a red light. A male subject pulled along beside Mr. Draper at the red light. Mr. Draper and the male subject got into a verbal altercation with each other about the male subjects being too close to Mr. Draper's vehicle. They did not touch or anything, and the guy said he was in his own lane. The light changed and both men began traveling along each other on Highway 295 towards Highway 221. A verbal altercation continued between the two men. Mr. Draper and the other man both increased their speeds and began to drive aggressively while passing other vehicles on the road. At approximately 6:21 a.m., surveillance footage shows Mr. Draper chasing the other man through the intersection of 295 on South Avenue, passing and almost striking an uninvolved vehicle, and finally pulling alongside the other man. Mr. Draper drew his pistol and pointed the firearm at the other man. The other man, seeing Mr. Draper pointing a gun, drew his own gun and shot one time towards Mr. Draper. The bullet struck and killed Mr. Draper. The other man, not knowing that Mr. Draper had been struck by the bullet, fled the area and continued to work. Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office investigators responded to the incident location where we began our investigation. It was later determined that the other man called his wife and told her of the incident. Approximately 2.5 hours after the incident occurred, the man's wife realized from the news that the Sheriff's Office was investigating the death of Mr. Draper. The man's wife informed her husband that Mr. Draper had been killed on Highway 295. The man and his wife immediately began seeking the services of attorneys. The man's attorney contacted the Sheriff's Office on the same day as the incident and arranged for the man to come forward to give his testimony and provide physical evidence to the Sheriff's Office. We still didn't know who the other person was until the morning that he came in. The Sheriff's Office investigators were able to gather physical evidence, witness testimonies, including Mr. Draper's wife, and several sources of surveillance video which showed the incident. The Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office and the Spartanburg County Solicitor's Office conducted an in-depth reviews of the evidence in this case. Both agencies concur that the other man committed no violation of the South Carolina Code of Laws when he shot Travis Draper in self-defense. Now, it's important to note that there's a lot of things going on in this case. We know by evidence that, and by witnesses, that Mr. Draper did have a weapon, and it was laying right by his hand in the passenger seat, and his passenger window was rolled down. There was one bullet hole that entered underneath the armpit, and the only way you can get shot under the armpit is if you've got your arm up. Nothing went through his arm, no other. It was one shot fired, just as the other gentleman said. Now, the coroner's office and myself have called everybody that we know. The solicitor's office and the sheriff's office. We've called everybody that we know, asking if there's any way or any reason how we can charge somebody in this case. There is no code of laws that I've been made aware of that we can charge this young man. He did this in self-defense. Now, do I like it? No. I don't like it when two people have road rage. I don't like it when two people are driving up and down the road very aggressively. And our evidence and video footage clearly shows Mr. Draper was the aggressor by coming up beside this guy, passing in the wrong side on oncoming traffic and driving through the median very aggressively to get up with him. Mrs. Draper was on the phone telling her husband, please don't do that, leave it alone, he didn't hit your car, just go to work. This is very tragic, and we don't like these cases. I'm a firm believer that In this case, I think both of them certainly were responsible for what the end result was. But it don't make it no better for the Draper family, that's for sure. It don't make it no easier for me to have to tell the mom and the dad and the husband and all their family that there's no laws that I can apply. I've checked, I promise you I've checked, and I've checked about 15 times. So I will try my best to answer questions. I mean, I think I've explained it about as good as I know to explain it, but if you guys have questions, I'll try to answer them.
Are there any road rage laws in the state of South Carolina that could be added to this?
Looked at them, I mean, there's just nothing. We looked and have no evidence whatsoever to suggest this was a white and a black thing or a black and a white thing. We looked at everything. I looked at every traffic law. I looked at every possible scenario, and the self-defense law still covers that.
Even in a moving vehicle?
Even in a moving vehicle. And I had a hang up with that too. But it still applies, and I've tried. I looked in depth.
Were they both concealed weapons carrier?
The other gentleman was. Mr. Draper had a right to have his weapon because he had it in the dash in a zip compartment, so he had every right to put it by South Carolina laws. He had every right to keep it in the dash. And that's where his wife said that he kept it.
So the other guy had a concealed weapon permit and Mr. Draper did not. But
That's right.
But he had every right to have the gun.
He had every right to have it because of where he kept it. He kept it in the dash like the law says he can.
What's the other gentleman's name?
Not going to release that.
Can you go back to, it all started because they were too close to each other?
Yeah, the other gentleman pulled up beside Travis Draper at the red light from what we gathered, 295 and 56. And I'm not sure if they were on the phone, Travis and his wife were on the phone at that time, but then the verbal argument started, and the other guy said, "I'm in my lane if you want to get out and look." And he said when the light changed, he took off, and all the evidence points to that.
Is there a chance that you'll be releasing the surveillance video? And if so, when?
Yeah, I don't think we will be able to release that.
What was a lesson learned from both of you guys and the Republic on this?
Well, I didn't like the fact that the gentleman that did the shooting took off to work and didn't call law enforcement. And I'm going to talk to the legislatures about seeing if there's something we can put in the CWP laws that you should make sure that if you have to discharge or use your weapon in self-defense, it should be common sense. You should call law enforcement. You just should call. I didn't like that a bit, but just because he didn't call law enforcement, it doesn't mean that he violated any laws. And I really had a tough time with that one, don't mind telling you.
And you're a big supporter of firearms?
I'm a huge supporter of people carrying weapons to defend themselves when they use it the correct way. And all the laws appear and point, and all the evidence that we have points to that guy was standing his ground in self-defense.
I guess so he discharged his firearm and struck the man, and then he just left the scene?
Yeah, he had a right to flee and to get to safety. My point for everybody was I wished he would have just stopped and called and told the instant what had happened. It would have made it a lot more settling for me. But none of this is going to bring Mr. Draper back. And I'm telling you, I looked at every law. I looked at every traffic law. I looked at every common law. There's just nothing I can do about this.
Even though there isn't a particular law geared towards this, and now we're going into this open carry situation now, what do you have to say for those who have license to carry, but open carry, and come across a situation like this?
Yeah, I want you to please, if you don't have common sense, please use good judgment. I found that a lot of people don't have common sense. Please use good judgment. Is an argument about something worth you taking another person's life for? I suggest not. I mean, this, by all accounts, all the evidence points that he had a pistol pointed at him, and he had a right to return fire or to shoot. So, for the love of God, use good judgment.
Do you know, was he aware that he had struck Mr. Draper?
He said he wasn't aware. He said he didn't even know that he hit the car or anything. He said he just kind of went over his shoulder and shot one time, and that's all we can find is one shell casing, and it matched up with what all he had in his weapon.
I know you're going to release his name. What's his mindset right now? What's going on with him?
I don't know. I'm sure he's pretty distraught that he had to do what he did. But, you know, let me reiterate. I didn't like it that he didn't call. You know, but that's not against the law for now. And I'm going to try to make some kind of arrangements with our legislatures to make sure that that is mandated. That, I mean, any prudent person would call. And I don't like that. So the only way I can fix that is try to introduce, and it should be so easy. You know, if I pointed my pistol at somebody or shot at somebody, I wouldn't just come to work and go do something else. I would let somebody know.
So the other guy was within his rights under the stand your ground law?
Yes, sir.
And what was Mr. Draper and the other guy, are they both white, African American?
Mr. Draper is African American and the other guy's white. And trust me, I looked to see if that was an issue too, and it was not. I don't have any evidence of that at all. Okay. I don't want to answer any more questions. I went as far as I need to go. I know that there's going to be some people that don't accept this. I don't like it either. But I have been sworn to uphold the laws. And you can ask the solicitor's office if you like. I argued for all the way up until the time that we were about to meet with the family yesterday. And I'm settled after long prayer, meditation, and looking and checking. I've stayed up late at night looking and looking and looking. There's just nothing I can do. So please be in prayer for the Draper family. Thank you.